We will walk the dark as they do, and they shall know our names in despair. For so long as they burn, we shall be flame. So long as they bleed, we shall be blades. So long as they sin, we shall be saints. And we are silver. Man, that's so cringe. Anyways, hello and welcome to Liam's Lyceum. I'm your host, Liam, aka Var. And today I'll be doing a spoiler-free review of J. Kristoff's Empire of the Vampire. Empire of the Vampire is a 2021 novel and first in a series. I think it's a trilogy, I'm not even sure. I didn't really know anything about it besides the fact that it's large, probably overly so, as most books this size are, I feel like, and it's about vampires. It's this latter that got me into it because I like vampires. Also, my friend Jerry bought me a copy, so I can appreciate that. Thanks, Jerry. Anyways, it is really overdoing the try-hard coolness. That's how it starts, and then followed up by a potty mouth, a section that really doesn't put this book off to a good start. It starts by questioning God in a very disillusioned Christian sense. I will say I tried this in January and find it sour, but tried it again in August, and it did grip me. It is a fast enough read. We'll get to more of my thoughts. So there's an edgy stylized map at the front showing the empire of Eladane, I don't know, and the crest of the Bloods Divok, Chastain, Voss, and Elone. 27 years ago, the sun went dark, and since then, vampires have been tearing down the human empire. In fact, we start with our framing device. Like The Name of the Wind or Empire Silence, most of the stories in the past, it's set up thus. A killer named Gabriel de Leon has killed the vampire's emperor, but now he awaits death. The sun sets, and a cold-blooded historian comes to get his story for the new empress. He has obvious disdain for the vampire, not listening to any request or command, even magical ones, until powdered vampire blood is offered him, and he has to smoke it. He's an addict. Then we go back to the beginning as a child, and the day the sun sees the light, and later when vampires come about. We also learn of different kinds, high bloods, gold bloods, foul bloods, etc. It's all told in the first person, of course. I also see lots of very easy French thrown in, like frere and oui. That seems to be based off early modern Europe, as firearms are a thing too. There's a reference to The Hobbit early on, and the story began in a hole in the ground. Gabriel de Leon is a feisty silver saint of Saint Michon, the last of his order. Greyhand was his Gandalfish mentor, kind of, and after his initial complaints, he falls into telling us in this vampire historian his life story. Honestly, it seems against the character we get in those first few pages, besides the F-bombs largely directed at vampires and God, which is similar to Christianity, but with a female aspect present in the religion too. Again, it's just kind of easy. He's like, oh, no, I'm not going to do this for you. And then it's like, yeah, sure, I'll tell you. And then the whole book is 700, 800 pages of him doing something he seemed pretty adamant about not doing. Anyways, Beyond the Vampires feels like kind of generic fantasy up to date, right? There's Sans the magic system, thank goodness, hallelujah. But it feels exactly like I expected. Gabriel finds a rival in DeCoste, who is overly antagonistic for a little reason. Gabriel rolls his eyes at him, and so do I. The language is also all over the place, with methinks and similar archaism thrown in with modern curses. Doesn't really work that great, in my opinion. People like Montfort are annoying by name, if you know the Albigensian Crusade, I'd say, and it's confirmed when he opens his mouth. Astrid is a nice name, but immediately made me think of Christopher Hesburgh's Chaos Queen Quintet along with everything else. This Astrid also swears much, but is, a love interest I didn't find too endearing. There are pictures throughout, nice touch, but I'm not a big fan of the style, personally. The coming of age seems a little forced. The story beats come right where you expect them, and it's done super swiftly, and part of it's are meh. Like the pity he wants you to feel for Gabriel from his father's abuse didn't work for me, and the nun making the knees and back statements seems so far-fetched. But the opposite side of this is that it's done well, and I was entertained. Besides from this forced Bildungsroman, Kristoff nicely switches gears and skips time, but when this happens, we get a generic, thinly veiled Scottish fantasy analog, a bard that is super uniquely a rake, and this leads us into cringe sex, which shows up early in the story. And we also go back to the coming of age stuff from time to time. There's also a silly magic sword with a stutter. Some of the author's opinions feel very obvious, like in religion or on books, for example. I'm not saying those are either good or bad, it's just seem obvious. The language drops the pseudo archaisms, but then it feels trite when it, I don't know, it's all over the place. The Grail quest has an interesting twist, but that's about it, as everything else is predictable. And I didn't care for the characters on that quest. It's a tad long, going where it is slowly. It's also juvenile in a way that's sadly but best described as cringe again. But it does manage to entertain well enough at times, right? I mean, I still read it, right? Here I am complaining about it, but I read it. Anyways, so I'm honestly not sure if I'll read the next one. I'm kind of leaning towards I won't at this point. But yeah, I like vampires, so maybe.